The lack of affordable homes in social housing and low-rent properties in Salford are preventing people from getting onto the property ladder and finding homes they can afford.
We are joined in the studio Mark Burton from Steady Set Manchester. Hi Mark, how can we balance the need of new house with the claim of green belt?
I think we have to start from the assumptions that we're making about how many homes are needed and about the priority of green belt. Also about the phasing. So it doesn't actually look like there really should be any conflict. Certainly back in September, it looked like, on the basis of the latest housing figures, that it would be possible for Greater Manchester to accommodate all the housing need without encroaching on the green belt. But then, as I think you know, the government imposed the use of outdated population figures for the calculation of the housing need, which I know Andy Burnham has complained about, so that we're using the wrong assumptions to plan. Also, we're planning for 20 years, whereas if we plan for 15 years, there's enough land available for the housing need. So it all comes down to the assumptions that we're making.
So what do you think the projections from the Greater Manchester Council about the spatial framework are too optimistic?
They're highly flawed. They're flawed, as I've already just explained, in terms of the population projections and the number of households that are going to form over the period. But they're also flawed in terms of the levels of economic growth that's promoted. So the Greater Manchester Combined Authority are using a firm called Oxford Economics, who are projecting outlandish levels of economic growth, well above, for example, the Office for Budgetary Responsibility projections and the mainstream of economic forecasters. That means that they're over-projecting on employment, they're over-projecting on population because of the people coming to Greater Manchester. And they're trying to plan for 20 years. Even Stalin, didn't try and plan for a 20-year period. There's too many uncertainties. So really they need to be thinking in terms of planning indefinite for 5 years, and then with indicative plans for the next 5 and the 5 after that. 20 years is too long. You can't make sense of it.
So in your opinion, what do you think about the projections for housing in Salford?
I think it's good that Salford will be taking rather more houses and flats than, for example, the outlying districts. And that does give some protection to green space, because Salford has a lot of, if you like, post-industrial landscape that can now be used for other purposes. So that's good. The ratio is going to be something like 4.5 flats to houses, which is a high ratio. And indeed, across Greater Manchester, we're looking at a kind of level.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you there, but we've run out of time. I do apologise.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Cheers.